The Middle East, a region already steeped in historical complexities and geopolitical tensions, stands precariously close to a potential nuclear crisis. This area, rich in cultural heritage and economic significance, has long been a focal point of global interest and intervention. At the heart of this volatile situation lies the long-standing confrontation between Israel and Iran, two nations locked in a high-stakes standoff over Tehran's nuclear ambitions. This rivalry is not just a modern-day issue but is deeply rooted in decades of political, religious, and territorial disputes. The specter of a nuclear-armed Iran has cast a long shadow over the region, raising fears of a devastating conflict with global ramifications. The potential for nuclear proliferation in such a volatile area has alarmed not only neighboring countries, but also the international community at large. Israel, viewing a nuclear Iran as an existential threat, has repeatedly vowed to prevent such an outcome, even if it means resorting to military action. The Israeli government has made it clear that it will take whatever steps necessary to ensure its national security, including preemptive strikes. This unwavering stance has further fueled tensions and raised concerns about the potential for a catastrophic escalation. The possibility of a military confrontation looms large, with both nations preparing for the worst-case scenario. The international community, deeply wary of the destabilizing consequences of a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, has sought to address the issue through a combination of diplomacy, sanctions, and negotiations. Various international bodies, including the United Nations, have been actively involved in trying to mediate and find a peaceful solution. However, despite these efforts, the path to a peaceful resolution remains elusive. Diplomatic negotiations have often broken down, and peace talks have failed to yield any substantial progress, leaving the region in a state of perpetual uncertainty. This essay delves into the intricate web of historical grievances, geopolitical calculations, and strategic considerations that have brought these two nations to this dangerous impasse. Understanding the deep-seated issues and the historical context is crucial for comprehending the current tensions. It examines the potential consequences of an Israeli military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities, exploring the potential responses from Tehran and the wider regional and global implications. Such an action could trigger a series of retaliatory measures, leading to a broader conflict that could engulf the entire region. Finally, this essay analyzes the ongoing diplomatic efforts to defuse the crisis, assesses the role of public opinion and media narratives in shaping perceptions of the conflict, and considers the potential paths towards a more secure and peaceful future. The influence of media in framing the narrative and swaying public opinion cannot be underestimated. The stakes are incredibly high, and the need for a comprehensive understanding of this complex issue has never been greater. As the clock ticks, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution that will ensure lasting peace and stability in the Middle East. Iran's nuclear program, a subject of intense international scrutiny and controversy for decades, has its roots in the mid-20th century. This program has been a focal point of geopolitical tension, drawing the attention of world powers and international organizations alike. The program, initially launched with the assistance of the United States under the Atoms for Peace program during the reign of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was intended for peaceful purposes, primarily focused on energy production and medical research. The collaboration was seen as a symbol of modernization and progress, with the Shah envisioning a future where Iran would be a leader in nuclear technology. However, the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which toppled the Shah's regime and brought Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini to power, marked a significant turning point. The new regime's initial stance was one of opposition to nuclear technology, viewing it as a remnant of Western influence and imperialism. The new Islamic Republic, initially opposed to nuclear technology, gradually revived the program in the 1980s during the Iran-Iraq War. The war underscored the strategic importance of self-reliance in defense and technology, prompting a shift in policy towards the development of nuclear capabilities. This period saw Iran seeking to acquire nuclear technology from various sources, including Pakistan and China. These alliances were crucial in circumventing the restrictions imposed by Western countries and advancing Iran's nuclear knowledge and infrastructure. Despite facing international pressure and sanctions, Iran continued to develop its nuclear capabilities in the following decades. The resilience of the program in the face of economic and political isolation highlighted Iran's determination to pursue its nuclear ambitions. The discovery of clandestine nuclear facilities in the early 2000s further heightened international concerns and led to the imposition of stringent sanctions by the United Nations Security Council. These revelations intensified the global debate over Iran's true intentions and the potential threat posed by its nuclear activities. Iran has consistently maintained that its nuclear program is entirely peaceful and protected under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, to which it is a signatory. Tehran argues that it has the right to develop nuclear technology for civilian purposes, such as generating electricity and producing medical isotopes. Tehran argues that it has the right to enrich uranium for civilian purposes, such as fuel for nuclear power plants and medical isotopes. This stance is rooted in the belief that access to nuclear technology is a sovereign right and essential for national development. However, the international community, particularly the West, remains skeptical of Iran's claims, suspecting that the program is aimed at developing nuclear weapons capability. The lack of transparency and Iran's history of non-compliance with international regulations have only fueled these suspicions. The lack of transparency surrounding certain aspects of the program, coupled with Iran's history of concealing nuclear activities, has fueled these suspicions. International inspectors have often faced challenges in gaining full access to Iranian facilities, further complicating efforts to verify the peaceful nature of the program. The international community's efforts to address the Iranian nuclear issue have been largely centered on diplomacy and sanctions, aimed at persuading Tehran to curtail its sensitive nuclear activities and provide credible assurances about the peaceful nature of its program. These efforts have included numerous rounds of negotiations, agreements, and the imposition of economic sanctions designed to pressure Iran into compliance. Israel, a nation with a deeply ingrained sense of vulnerability and a history scarred by existential threats, views Iran's nuclear program as a matter of grave concern. This concern is not just a fleeting worry but a deeply rooted fear that has been shaped by decades of conflict and survival instincts. From Israel's perspective, a nuclear-armed Iran poses a direct and existential threat to its very survival. The potential of Iran possessing nuclear weapons is seen as a game-changer in the balance of power in the Middle East, one that could tip the scales against Israel. This perception is rooted in a complex web of historical, ideological, and geopolitical factors that have shaped the two countries' relations. The animosity between Israel and Iran is not a recent development but has been brewing for decades, influenced by regional politics and global alliances. The trauma of the Holocaust, during which 6 million Jews were systematically murdered by Nazi Germany, has left an enduring mark on Israel's national psyche, fostering a deep-seated fear of annihilation and a determination to prevent another genocide. This historical trauma is a significant driver of Israel's security policies and its vigilance against potential threats. The Iranian regime's repeated calls for Israel's destruction, coupled with its support for militant groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, which are sworn enemies of Israel, have further exacerbated these fears. These groups have been involved in numerous conflicts with Israel, adding to the sense of urgency and danger perceived by the Israeli state. Israel sees Iran's nuclear ambitions as a means for Tehran to achieve its goal of regional hegemony and threaten Israel's existence. The potential for Iran to dominate the region with nuclear capabilities is a scenario that Israel is determined to prevent at all costs. From a strategic standpoint, Israel is also concerned about the potential for a nuclear-armed Iran to embolden its adversaries in the region and trigger a nuclear arms race, destabilizing the entire Middle East. The ripple effects of such a development could lead to widespread instability and conflict, affecting not just Israel but the global community. Israel's official stance on Iran's nuclear program has been firm and unambiguous. It will not tolerate a nuclear-armed Iran. This policy is not just a political statement, but a reflection of the deep-seated fears and strategic calculations that drive Israel's national security agenda. This position has been reiterated by successive Israeli governments, irrespective of their political leanings. Whether left-wing or right-wing, the consensus remains that a nuclear-armed Iran is an unacceptable risk. Israel has repeatedly asserted its right to take unilateral military action to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, considering it an existential threat that cannot be ignored. This stance underscores the lengths to which Israel is willing to go to ensure its survival and maintain regional stability. The possibility of Israel launching a military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities has been a subject of intense speculation and debate for many years. While Israel maintains a policy of strategic ambiguity regarding its military capabilities and intentions, it has repeatedly stated that all options are on the table when it comes to preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. A military strike against Iran's nuclear program would be a highly complex and risky undertaking, fraught with logistical challenges and potentially devastating consequences for the region. Iran's nuclear facilities are dispersed geographically, with some buried deep underground, making them difficult to target and destroy completely. Moreover, any military action by Israel would likely trigger a swift and severe response from Iran, potentially igniting a wider regional conflict with unpredictable and far-reaching consequences. Despite these challenges and risks, Israel has reportedly been developing and refining its military capabilities for a potential strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. This includes investing in advanced bunker-busting bombs, long-range strike aircraft, and sophisticated intelligence-gathering capabilities. The Israeli Air Force, considered one of the most technologically advanced and battle-hardened in the world, would likely play a crucial role in any such operation. However, the success of a military strike is far from guaranteed and would depend on various factors, including the element of surprise, the accuracy of intelligence, and the effectiveness of Iran's air defenses.